actually. So there's a whole flurry of information. We go over to the next page. 279 miles of range left. Set the time for our next departure. Activating the preconditioning for departing. I'm not quite ready to go yet, but let's see what happens. So this is going to send a signal to the car and prepare it. So it's preparing the engine to warm up and be ready to drive out when we're ready to go. So this is all very, very neat, and you do, of course, have your usual buttons. This needs charging up, and there's a place to put it in the car, but it is quite a large object, significantly larger than a normal key. So you have to sort of bear that in mind. And then you do have the normal lock and unlock buttons, of course, flashing the lights there. So, enough playing with the key. Let's have a look at the interior. I'll come around to the driver's side to quickly show you the up front area. So, luxury, comfort, refinement. And given how much tech there is in here, it's not actually sort of over-swamped with buttons. Oh, I can feel that it's had the hot air blowing. If I close the door, I think the steering wheel will lower itself. Maybe when I start the engine, sitting quite high there. So we've got the familiar sort of full digital display. There's actually a little analog clock there in the middle, which is quite nice. Fun little touch in the software. All the sort of functions you'd expect. Start it up, turn off the radio for us there. So you've got the rev counter on the right, the speedometer on the left. All sorts of information that comes up on the centre section to do with the safety features you've got turned on. And over here you have the familiar iDrive's large clear display system controlled through this interface here next to the gear stick. Actually that's quite fun. As I touch around on the top, it moves the map around as well. That's really quite nice. You've got this button here, so I'll quickly bring up what we've got in the safety functions, because this is where it's all a little bit crazy. Pedestrian alert with dynamic markers, so it will show us and light up when it sees people. Collision warnings all through the adaptive radar system at the front. Cameras all around you to control when you're leaving your lanes, keeping you in, so you can literally take your hands off the steering wheel. Side collision warning. It literally has just everything you can imagine. Now, one of the coolest things this car has, I'm going to turn the radio on and turn it all the way down, is the gesture control. So you literally do this, and it turns up the volume and down. It's ridiculous.
Favorite shows, movies, or games?
It's absolutely ridiculous. And then if you've got a phone call, you just do that and it sort of goes away, or you answer it. You literally just wave your hand around in this area and stuff happens, which must be using sensors, I guess, up in the roof. But it's just awesome. If you're a tech lover, that kind of stuff is cool. You've also got a digital display here for the air conditioning and heating controls and stuff. So it's quite nice up front. And just turning the lights on, you can see that it's not overloaded with buttons. You have a lot of sort of different controls around, but it's not massively in your face too much. Seats are obviously very comfortable. You'd expect that. Let's just take a quick look at the back before we head off for this little drive. Back here, now I've got the driver's seat in my position. Loads of room in the normal car. Super comfortable seats with lots going on. We've got the whole centre console armrest you can pull out with this massive tablet, which will get connected in a sec. But you've got all the seat controls here in the centre, and a storage box here in the armrest. Actually, we'll come back to this after the drive and I'll show you that whole system. But yeah, back here is not a bad place to be. Right, let me get back in the front and we'll go for a little drive. Okay, let's get set. So normal 8-speed automatic gearbox, which I found initially is sort of brilliant for just not having to do or change anything. Steering's very light, as you'd expect in this kind of car. When you get in, the seatbelt sort of snuggles you in, pulls tightly, just makes sure you're gripped in. But the ride, well, right now, it's exceptionally soft. It's really soft, and there is so little noise in the cabin as well. I mean, the air conditioning blower is going quite strong at the moment, but in here it just wafts along. You have a couple of sort of settings. You have sport, we can go into, makes everything red and more aggressive, which has its own individual configuration setting. We have comfort, or we have comfort plus, which is obviously even softer, or we have Eco Pro. Now on the right hand side you have adaptive, and if you press adaptive the car will fully sort of adapt as you go and change all of the settings sort of to the optimum at that time. So if you're going, let's say, really slowly up to a speed bump, the suspension gets softer, you roll over the speed bump. If your foot is pressed to the floor on the accelerator pedal as you get to a corner, you're naturally going to be with a stiffer suspension and it's going to go around the corner in a significantly less sort of wafty way than it otherwise would. So that whole sort of configuration actually seems to work brilliantly. You just get in the car, drive it, you don't need to worry too much about what you're doing and what modes you're in. You have all the comfort features like adaptive cruise control, so obviously mirroring your speed off the car in front up to a limit you set it to. It will automatically brake you as a result as well. The whole lane assist stuff I was telling you about, so the car will literally, if you're going along and it's enabled, which you do by turning on, so we've got all the systems on at the moment. It only works above a certain speed, so I can't show you that on the country lanes right now, but it will literally just guide you in the lane without your hands on the steering wheel for a short period. It will then notify you that your hands are off the steering wheel and you need to get them back on, which is certainly right from a safety point of view. But again, you know, if you're drifting lanes accidentally, it will sort of, you'll feel a gentle tug as it pulls the wheel back into line in the sort of right direction. So from a safety point of view, you couldn't really ask for more than that, so it's pretty perfect. One of the other things that it's got, yeah, blind spot monitoring, all those sort of other things you'd expect. But this is where, you know, you get to enjoy quite how quiet and luxurious the car is. And really, if I did turn down the air conditioning control, if I turn off the fan, it just gets very, very quiet. That was actually just the passenger side, if I turn off the driver's side too. It's just completely like silent. Completely silent in here. There we go. No noise at all, which is phenomenally cool. Even there's a truck right next to me and you can just hear the rumble of it. And let's put those back on automatic for the moment. I do like that digital display as well. So all around, it's a really, really nice car to be driving in. Very, very comfortable, very easy to drive. There's a lot of give in the steering wheel, you'd expect that. So, you know, it's not the sort of most direct pointed car in the world. It's 1,750 kilos, of course. It has quite a large footprint. But in the sport mode, when pushing on, it does have a bit more feedback than you expect from a car of this kind of size and a bit more driving enjoyment. But let's face it, that's not going to be the primary purpose of the BMW 7 Series. It's going to be for long distance, comfortable cruising, chauffeur driving like I am now. And I guess on which point, let's get over to Heathrow and pick up my friend. Now that we're on the motorway, you'll have to excuse me for my stupidity earlier, because the way you turn on the lane assist is this button here, which engages the settings. So I'm going to turn on active cruise control, and then set my speed for the limit, which is of course 70 miles per hour. So I've got the head-up display. I can set the adaptive cruise control off the Clio in front of us, and this is where basically if there's a corner, the car is going to do its thing and basically keep it completely in line. Now I don't know if the head-up display can be seen from the camera, obviously in the distance just above me, but we've got a corner just in front of us. The road is going round to the right, so I'm going to take my hands off the steering wheel and trust the car, and you can see the steering wheel turning to the right. The image in front is turning to the right. Now obviously don't try this at home, but the car will make sure you stay in the lane. As soon as you touch it back again, it goes back into green. So there is a sort of time setting, a maximum length of time you can do this for, obviously for safety reasons. You should never take your hands off the wheel, it's dangerous driving. But the adaptive cruise control is also a brilliant system, the way it's, you know, slowing us down to 50 odd miles per hour, keeping us in line, but the car is taking us on its own around the corner. But we're reaching a traffic jam here. This will actually be interesting on its own, because the car, so that's letting me know that I've had my hands off the wheel for too long. Put them back on and it goes green, but I haven't manually touched the brake or the throttle once in this clip. The car is doing all of this itself, which is just, it makes driving so gentle and comfortable and relaxing. Yeah, it's done a nice job. It's carnage at the airport this evening, but I've picked up Mark, who joins me on many of my trips, and he's going to be driving, so he's just getting himself set up in the driver's seat. I'm going to be jumping in the back. Hi Mark.
Hello.
Welcome to England.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to London. And I'll be having a play with this. So we'll just set a nav and get on the way. And then I'll start having a fiddle around with stuff. The navigation is set and we're straight into traffic. Unsurprising for London, we've got just under an hour to get home, but that's going to give us an opportunity to play with the tablet back here, which is of course this Android-based tablet system. It's almost like an actual tablet that's just installed into the armrest here. So you've got all sorts of different features we can go through, and I'll give a quick demonstration. So interior lighting, you can change the colours. That's the sort of lights over around the door. You can see they've gone a little bit green. Make them back to blue. Actually, if I make them even brighter, you can see them better. So you can play around with all of those kind of settings and things. On the interior lighting, if I come through, you can go to sun protection, which shows us all the different sort of blinds like that, and there's a panoramic sunroof up here as well that I believe we can close if I press that. No, that doesn't work. That's my driver's door. Sorry, my driver's door, not driver's, my passenger door blind. So we can open those back up because that's a bit antisocial. Yeah. Play with all of that. Then we've got the seats. So this is where I can move using these controls any of the seats. So it's currently set on this panel for the front left. So I can move. Oh, that is actually moving mine. I can move this seat. There we go. I can move it forwards. Give myself a little bit more legroom, or actually quite substantially more legroom. As much as I could possibly want. You can obviously do all the settings for